नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनीति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पश्चात्य देशतारिणे वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। So, welcome everyone. Today's subject is not very pleasant to discuss, but has to be discussed. In the Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna in the 10th chapter explains the concept of debate, vada. Very profound, because Krishna is the original Jagat Guru. What does he say? Vadaha pravadatamaham. Whenever there is a debate, the purpose of the debate is to reach conclusion, not slandering each other. Right? If you study the entire history of Vada parampara in Bharat, in any subject for that matter, the people who debated, they were respectful to each other, even though they disagreed in regards to what they wanted to present. Here, when we are presenting, the purpose is not to prove. The intention, right, why people they say, that is not within our control. We can challenge what they are saying rather than why they are saying. So therefore, when we study, we will debate the Ritvik philosophy, but we will empathize for the reason why they have become. We will also touch upon that. Again, Prahlad Maharaj, we recently celebrated Narsingh Chaturdasi. The greatness of Prahlad was he was able to reconcile his two contradictory relationships. The relationship with Lord Narsingadev and relationship with his father. Even though Prahlad's father was an official Rakshasa, but you never see Prahlad demonizing his father, slandering his father. In fact, he always respected his father even though he disagreed to the ideology of his father. Such a brilliant reconciliation. In the conclusion of that story, Prahlad Maharaj asked for some deliverance of his father also. He fought fiercely in regards to the philosophy of Hiranyakashipu, but he did not fight him. Second, in the Mahabharata, there was a just war. It is called as Dharma Yuddha. There was no other way other than Yuddha. It's a debate. It was a battle. Right? When the battle was over, Sri Krishna along with the Pandavas had the courage to come to Dhritarashtra, Gandhari and beg their forgiveness. Not for the war, but for the separation of Kauravas from their life, the life of Dhritarashtra and Gandhari. Lord Ramachandra, when he, after killing Ravan, after Ravan was killed, Lord Ramachandra told our Vibhishan, our enmity was not there. We fought against the sin of Ravan. Now Ravan is dead, no more enemy. I will cry. Valmiki Maharshi, such a profound rishi, he has the sweet power to describe the battle as it is, right? At the same time, he has the amazing presentation of describing Lord Ram's disposition, saying that if you do not perform the last rites of Ravan, I will do it. Valmiki calls him Samana Shoka Kakustaha. Again, when Srila Prabhupada was debating the so-called scholar in New York, Mishraji, he couldn't handle his philosophy. There was a debate between the two in regards to philosophy, but when it came to human quality, Srila Prabhupada cooked for Mishraji. He had so many disputes with his god brothers coming from them, but he had the courage, natural quality of saying that I can fight, none of you can fight my god brothers. He defended them. So unless we understand the concept of debate and the culture of Sanatan Dharma, specifically Vaishnavism, trying to prove our points from either side, the point is not proven, but lot of gali galoj, right? Offenses, slandering, and unfortunately the greatest problem is we are ridiculed in the eyes of the leftist, the liberals, the hardcore atheistic people, right? So therefore the point here, we are not debating because I don't have the other side. I am only conveying what we have learned from the Shastra. Keeping this in our mind, the spirit, the disposition and the understanding. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, after his transformation into the Lord Chaitanya's teaching, he wanted to change one word from the Bhagavatam in the 10th canto. Sadaiva Bhak, that verse comes, Mukti, the word Mukti is used in regards to waiting for the mercy of the Lord. So Bhattacharya did not like the word Mukti and he wrote there Bhakti. Fair enough. The right meaning, the right understanding, the right disposition. Sri Chaitanya Dev smiled at him. He approved his spirit but disapproved tampering with the words of the Vyasadeva. Imagine, nobody has the right to change the word of the scripture even having a right intention. So what to speak of the entire concept of parampara, right? I am not here to convince anybody, because if someone is very strong about what they want to believe, even if Srila Prabhupada personally comes and tells, right? Like I was sharing one story recently, if Krishna comes and tells one temple president of ISKCON only, that you go and give 5 crores to other temple, 5 crore rupees, which has worked very hard to raise that fund, it may be difficult. He might argue also with Krishna. Arey, we raised this for your service. Now you are asking us to give it to them. How is it possible? Right? So the point here is, it is not about convincing them because they are not here. And even after all the research, all the Shastra, I'll dwell that part little bit and also dwell on something where why someone behaves so adamantly about something which is not part of the Sanatan Dharma. Right. So in the Bhagavad Gita, in the 4th chapter, Jnana Yoga, Sri Krishna so systematically explains to Arjuna At one place, Krishna speaks about different kinds of yagyas, right? Dravya yagya, Brahma yagya, and then Daivagya, Pranayam yagya, study of the scripture, performing tapasya. There are many yagyas Krishna describes to Arjun in the 4th chapter, up until 4.32. In 4.34, what does Krishna say? It is very important. Tat vidhi. Tat vidhi pranipatena. He is not speaking about all these yagyas, Arjuna, are difficult to understand. Therefore, for you to learn them, tad vidhi, what you have to do? Approach a teacher, approach a guru, and learn from them, sitting at their feet. Tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. Whether you take Upanishad, Taittiriya Upanishad called as Shikshavalli, the process of Guru and Shishya meeting together, right? You can get inspiration from the book. You can get learning from the tape recorder. You can get learning from the video. You can get inspiration from inner core given by Paramatma. That is all right. But still, as the process, we still need Upanishad, Upanayana. These are all core words, unchangeable, cannot be cancelled. Right? One has to stay close to the Guru, learn from him, because there is a samvad, there is a conversation between the two. This is an unchangeable reality, nobody can change it. Right? Then we see in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, when Rupa Goswami speaks about Adau Guru Pada Ashrayaha, for one to learn, one has to approach a teacher, a guru, an acharya, and converse with him, learn from him, and grow nicely. So there is no scripture, whether it is mundane subject matter or for that matter learning Atma Vidya, no scripture, Mahabharata, Ramayana, Bhagavatam, Goswami literatures, you find nowhere such idea of directly learning something. Certainly there are exceptional stories where somebody was directly inspired. Great, we respect and appreciate that. But that does not become a process. That is an exceptional story. And even those who got that inspiration, what they did was eventually, they also created a parampara. It might have begun from them, but the parampara also started. Right? So therefore, by very nature, it is not simply a scriptural law. The very nature of Prakriti forces one, right? In the 2nd chapter of the 7th verse, when Arjuna ultimately, pleaded Krishna that I need to learn from him. And what does Prabhupada writes? He says the material world places living entity in a precarious condition. Right? And denying that precarious condition, because learning is not one time. Learning is infinite. Right? Because learning is infinite, these Shastras, if you study carefully, in the Kena Upanishad, what does Kena Upanishad say? That in the presence of infinity, in the presence of Ishwar, Bhagavan, Krishna, Ram, both Guru and Shishya are finite. Both are learning. Therefore, Kena Upanishad says that who is a Guru? Guru is one who knows that he does not know. And Shishya is one who does not know that he does not know. So there is no question in regards to the parampara system. There are details you can change. But this is not detail. It is the substance of Sanatan Dharma. It is the substance of every philosophy which comes from the Vedic principle. Let us take avatars. Whether it is Lord Ramachandra. Ramachandra had a guru in the form of Vashishta Maharshi. In regards to weapons, they learned from Vishwamitra Maharshi. Right? Even though he was Supreme God. Lord Sri Krishna. Sri Krishna's father, when the Pandavas were in the forest, some of the samskaras were not done. He sent one sage so that they can go through all the samskaras. Sri Krishna was already grown up. After killing Kamsa, he came to Sandipani Muni's ashram. He got to learn. Now, how in the world, please understand, a one letter, right? One letter of Srila Prabhupada cancels everything what is spoken in the purport, in the conversation, in the Shastra, in the parampara, and that becomes an ultimate authority. In the Nyaya Shastra, you cannot take a context alone. You have to see from the overall perspective. Now, people can pull up verses from here and there to prove their point, but they are not proving the Shastra. Right? Avatars accepted the whole concept of Guru Parampara. The next comes the Matacharyas. Ramanujacharya, Shankaracharya, Madhvacharya. They are called as three Matacharyas. All the three Matacharyas, they picked up, they studied the Vedas, they studied the Upanishad, they studied the Brahma Sutras, right? They formulated their own Mata. Even though all their students, they propagate their Mata, but the process of Guru Parampara was not stopped. Nobody can directly take initiation from Sripad Shankaracharya, even though he is non-different from Lord Shiva. Right? Shiva could have said, okay, henceforward there will be no parampara, I can do that. Imagine if Sripad Shankaracharya cannot do, by saying that Prabhupada said it, and strongly being determined, stubborn about this, is basically separating Srila Prabhupada from the entire system of parampara. It is not loyalty to him. Yes, I still consider there is a good intention, but the process of understanding is screwed up completely because it is not Shastra. Lord Shiva did not do, Madhvacharya did not do, Ramanujacharya did not do. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, when he came, he is Krishna, right? He could have said, I am the last. All the Gaudiya Vaishnavas do not need to take initiation henceforward. I will always give Diksha to everybody. And even though Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not write books, right, but the process of Diksha did not stop. We know what happened to Gadadhar Pandit. Right, Gadadhar Pandit consciously, unconsciously offended Pundarik Vidyanidhi, but eventually got initiated from him. If Lord Chaitanya is so strong about it, Narottam Das Thakur, how much he tried, even though he had a direct revelation, right? But they still waited to be initiated by Lokanath Goswami. Nowhere, right? All the Matacharyas continued the Sampradaya, Parampara system. Let us come to Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. The concept of Matha turning into institution happened with Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Right? There was no organized, registered institution within Bharat, but he started that. even though Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur started that, what did he do? There is no confusion. There was conflict, lot of conflict happened, but there was no conflict amongst his god brothers, including Srila Prabhupada, in regards to continuing the parampara system. Right? So the discussion is for those devotees and those people who are confused, ki what is the reality? Again, as I said, how painful it is, how strange it is, how unfortunate it is that you pick up one letter and say henceforward, means what? The entire parampara of the Matacharyas, entire parampara of the Avatara Tattva, the entire parampara of the Veda Marga, the entire system established by Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, his god brothers, right? You think Srila Prabhupada would ever even think in his mind कि I want to start something which nobody has done like that? Srila Prabhupada did not start his own mata, right? He is not like Madhvacharya, Ramanuja or Shankaracharya. They started their Advaita Vedanta, Vishishta Advaita Vedanta, and then Shuddha Dvaita. Or like Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu started his Achinta Bheda Veda Tattva. Or he was not the origin like Saraswati Thakur to start organization. He had the precedent of the previous teachers, the avatars, the Bhima who is Madhvacharya, Lakshman who is Ramanuja, and he had Shripad Shankaracharya. If you want to see the parampara, even though we may not agree with their philosophy, but he had the parampara. How in the world, right? It is very painful. How in the world, cancelling all their system, Srila Prabhupada makes something which is non-existent even in the remotely in his heart and in his mind. वो कर ही नहीं सकते, right? As a person of parampara, acharya, somebody told him that your Bhagavad Gita resembles lot like Ramanuja. Said, that is for my credit. That means I am following the parampara system. So how one letter can decide that? ये कितना बड़ा, how unfair for the very people who have to superimpose this idea in the core of their heart, because anyone who is chanting Hare Krishna, anyone who's taken the path of spirituality, as I said, they cannot be called as cheater, they cannot be called as demons, they cannot be called as offenders, because they're still chanting Hare Krishna. We have no right to slander even though their understanding of parampara is completely against the Vedic principle. In fact, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right, when he made a comment, what did he say when he was debating, discussing, Veda na mani buddha hoya nastik. Now he is not talking about only Buddhistic idea. He said Veda na mani. One who does not accept the Vedas, Buddhism is not a cult. Buddhism is a ideologue. Ideologue is there in the Ramayana also, right? It is there in the Ramayana. One may say how Buddha word is there in the Ramayana, because it is connected to, trying to find your own path. Now if you study Buddha's philosophy, he rejected the Vedas. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Prabhupada explains, we will offer respects to Buddha, but we will not follow his philosophy. Prahlad Maharaj respected his father, he did not agree with his philosophy. Similarly, when you do not follow the Vedic tradition, as I said, detail means there are Smriti Shastras, Right, in the Bhagavatam 7th canto, the brahmachari student, when he goes to Gurukul, what kind of clothes he has to wear. The description is there. Today they don't. They wear khadi, they wear silk, they wear cotton, they wear synthetic. So one may say, but they have changed now. There is so much of change. The principle of simplicity will not change. The way you dress will differ. Drinking of water will continue to remain. How you drink water, that is different. In the Mahabharata, the Pandavas, when they were traveling in the forest, they did not carry anything. When Kunti was thirsty, what did Bhima do? He went down to the stream in the river. He had his uttariya. He cleaned that cloth in the flowing water and soaked that cloth, came up and squeezed in the mouth of Kunti. Imagine today Pandavas have to travel, they will have a kit, right? There is a backpack. Even the sadhus, they may not have a backpack, they may have a jholi, but they will have something, a water bottle or water jug to carry to drink. The process of drinking water has changed, but the drinking of the water has not changed, right? So the principles will never change, the details will change. That is a different thing. And taking shishya or accepting Guru, in living Guru, it is not a detail. Again we are repeating, nobody has done that. Why do you think Prabhupada will do it? Krishna has not done, Shankaracharya has not done, Madhvacharya has not done, Ramanujacharya has not done, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur has not done. Why would he do it? By glorifying Prabhupada and saying that he started it, consciously, unconsciously, with good intention, those who are practicing this philosophy that henceforward there will be no Guru, they are hurting him so much. How? Just like in the Ramayana we see, Lakshman, in the name of being loyal to Lord Ram, Lakshmana, he is the original Guru. How did he offend Ramachandra? When he saw Bharat, he questioned Bharata's affection for Lord Ram. He was coming there to bring back Lord Ramachandra, but Lakshman felt that he has come to destroy Ram. So Lakshman wanted to destroy him. Therefore, it is explained, loyalty and affection, if it is not reasonable and logical, can cause offenses towards the very person whom you are worshipping. Mother Sita Devi, imagine in the Ramayana, Lakshman was there with Ramchandra for so many years. When Maricha caused that deception and he called out, hey Sita, hey Lakshman, hey Sita, hey Lakshman. And what did Sita Maya tell him? Out of love for Ram, Lakshman was very confident, nothing will happen to Lord Ramachandra. Sita said, no, something will happen. You are not having any good intention about Lord Ramachandra. You are waiting for him to be killed so that you can enjoy me. This is what the slanderous word Sita Devi said, and that slanderous word is not held against Sita Devi forever. All the good what she had done is not cancelled. All the good what she is going to do will not be cancelled. But what she did then became responsible for her to grow through the whole principle of Agni Pariksha. This is what the Acharyas explain. Imagine, so therefore, offense caused by good intentions or offense, they have to be rectified, but their good intention should not be destroyed. Therefore, whoever makes videos, right, it is very unfortunate to see that those devotees who are 2 years, 3 years, from both the side, making videos, calling each other. When Prahlad Maharaj was able to see an affectionate father in Hiranyakashipu, how in the world one can say that so many dedicated disciples of Srila Prabhupada, some certainly made mistake, we will also come to that part also, but at no point of time they can be called as Rakshasas, when our system, our parampara, our tradition, our shastras have the power to debate with the Rakshasas, to fight with the Rakshasas, but eventually giving them the space to grow, because ultimately every living entity is full of knowledge, full of bliss and full of eternality, right? There is no such thing as calling anybody if you don't like their philosophy. I am saying for both the parties, if you don't like, they do not become demons, and that is a very unfortunate one of the problem of the people who claim that Prabhupada is the ultimate Acharya for ISKCON and there will be nobody teacher. When somebody does not follow their ideas, we can see that they call them from every bad word, right? So Guru Nishta without Shastra Sammat has the power to destroy our Sabhyata, right? And therefore the word Sabha comes from the word Sabhyata, refinement, right? You cannot. So therefore it is a very interesting principle when such radicalization happens, and whichever cult in Bharat or for that matter outside, they have not expected the flowing parampara, whether the Buddhistic idea, whether the Abrahamic religion like Christianity, Islam, right? Their Shastras are frozen, unfortunately. To such an extent, in the non-Vedic tradition, Astika and Nastika is so vastly different. What is the idea for the Christianity and Islam, the Abrahamic faith? That if you don't accept Jesus as the ultimate deliverer, everyone, even if they are following some other god, they are good people, everybody will be sent to hell. And that is what unfortunately Ritvik people also become. Because there is exclusivity of claim. Like we see what happened in Punjab. I am speaking from social perspective, psychological perspective, from the perspective of creating disruption. The entire Khalistan movement. Why did the Sikh community came into existence? Two reasons. One, because of the caste system, and second is fighting against the invasion, and the second is the most prominent reason. And we study Guru Govinda Singh, Tegh Bahadur, all these great people. And where did they come from originally? They originally came from the Hindu community only, from Sanatan Dharma only. Now we see what has happened, because there is no flowing Guru Parampara. To such an extent, if you study Guru Granth Sahib, there are words of Krishna, there is word Rama, there is Hari. And if you ask some of these such radicalized people, they have such illogical idea that this Krishna and the Krishna in the Mahabharata have nothing common in each other. Right? The Ritviks eventually, if they continue to be radical, and they will be radical, because the very nature of exclusivity makes you crazily exclusive. And what will happen? They will deny the Krishna of ISKCON. They will deny the Krishna of Mahabharata. Where I am saying from? From the history only. Right? So therefore, it is not simply a philosophical debate. It has an impact on a sociology also. And eventually Prabhupada will be made God also. Right? He will be separated from the entire Vedic tradition. Because how can you place him in the Vedic tradition? Because the very core of the Vedic tradition is parampara system. All the scriptures are there. Because you cannot prove that he stopped the parampara through one letter. So they have to separate him. The consequences in the future will come from a philosophical perspective, even though they have a good intention. So therefore, that has to be dealt properly. Therefore, what we see, why such behavior? Again, there are hundreds of logic to prove, but I only connected and presented the basic one. As I said in the beginning, we are not against those who are speaking it. We are against the idea of Ritvik philosophy. They had the reason, they had their issues also, right? Like when you study the history of ISKCON, after the, Prabhupada going back to the spiritual world. I remember talking to one of the 11 teacher. I met him in America in a very informal way. No? Yes, now people demonize him, right? They call all kinds of ill name, removing everything, you can debate his ideas, but you cannot debate about his contribution to serving Krishna. Right, again, as I said, in the culture of debate, you debate the issues, not the personality, because I am not Paramatma to judge that he is a Rakshasa, he is insincere, he is a rascal. मैं नहीं कर सकता हूँ, because it is not, I am not Paramatma. And he explained that when we were made into gurus, he said we were as young as 26, 28-year-old. People are massaging us. People are putting shoes into our feet. They are giving so much respect, right? Prabhupada was 78, 80-year-old. We were 26-year-old. Very sporty body. When the body is scared by so many people, he said it caused great indigestion to me. He was telling jokingly, right? So their sincerity cannot be questioned. The ideas, the challenges, the activities what they did, like there is a beautiful letter. This was written in 1978 by one of the great scholars who was translating Prabhupada's books. Prabhupada also asked him to help in translating after his departure the 10th remaining canto, 11th and 12th canto. His name is His Grace Pradyumna Prabhu. An amazing personality. I was very fortunate to meet him regularly. He would write regular letters for asking me, I want this book, can you get me, when I would go and meet him in America, right? Why? Because he is actually educated, right? When you have Shastra Gyan so much, deeply learned, so naturally there is no pride only. When you are one book, you have learned only 3 books, 2 books for 2 years. And we have the audacity to claim that I know everything, so therefore they are very loud everywhere. But here this person in 1978, he wrote a letter to the GBC. And when he wrote that letter, unfortunately, his letter was not taken seriously. He was mistreated. And it is everywhere, since it is public, so I am quoting it. So Pradyumna Prabhu wrote a beautiful letter. I will share the summary of that letter, not the full letter. Once you read that letter, you will understand if the system had followed this, and GBC wrote a letter after many years begging forgiveness from Pradyumna Prabhu for treating him wrongly. So therefore there is nothing wrong in what he has written. It reconciles so beautifully. So therefore we are also seeing from the perspective of why people behaved. Let me read that synopsis and give some explanation. Okay. So can I, okay, please, can I also see that letter? Yeah. So Srila Prabhupada's instruction as understood by the author. Srila Prabhupada did not appoint a successor Acharya. Continue to read, okay? The GBC was to manage all affairs, both material and spiritual, jointly. 11 senior disciples were allowed to initiate. There is a difference between being Acharya and being initiation. Very beautiful. Not to act as spiritual heads or Acharyas in the institutional sense. There are many gurus, very simplistic. They initiate disciples, but they don't take the role of an Acharya like Saraswati Thakur, Srila Prabhupada, Madhvacharya, Ramanujacharya. They continue the parampara. concerns about current practices of the 11 gurus. He calls them as gurus. They have assumed the title Acharya improperly. They are sitting on a high Vyasasanas even in front of Srila Prabhupada's Vyasasan and other God brothers. I'll explain some details also. They are accepting worship and elevated respect from fellow God brothers' improper etiquette. Right, next. They appear to have divided ISKCON geographically, each claiming exclusive control over a zone. As I said, this letter was accepted by the GBC eventually, but when he wrote that, he was treated very badly. Next, clarification on the term Acharya. A general sense, one who practices what he preaches. That is the definition of Acharya. Third, initiator, Diksha Guru, entitled to respect only from his own disciples. In fact, Sanatan Goswami in his Hari Bhakti Vilas, right, one of the greatest treatises for practicing different kinds of etiquette, he explains Guru, Mantra and Ishtadev has to be kept as privately to the heart as possible. And Pradyumna Prabhu is mentioning that initiator Diksha Guru entitled to respect only from his own disciples. His position of Guru is very relative to the disciple, not to the entire institution. Institutional head, Pita Acharya, only appointed successor, which Srila Prabhupada did not do. Right? And no confusion in this. Etiquette among God brothers. No God brother should sit on a high seat above others. Guru Puja, Vyas Puja should be done privately, not publicly in front of other God brothers. In Gaudiya Math, mutual respect and humility are observed strictly between God brothers. Next. Sannyas may sit on a small asan but not elevated thrones. Concerns about ISKCON governance. Temple belongs to ISKCON, not to any one guru. Zonal restriction on gurus are artificial. Guru-disciple connections are transcendental, not geographical. He still, see how beautifully reconciles between the concern and the tradition. He does not question the tradition, right? But he raises the concern in regards to how the system was operated. The situation may lead to division of ISKCON into fractions, harming unified preaching. Warning and final request. The current approach could result in spiritual degradation due to pride from undue worship. Organizational chaos and fragmentation. Appeals for the GBC to intervene immediately and resolve the situation tactfully. Request that point urgently discussed and acted upon before Janmashtami. This was beautifully written by Pradyumna Prabhu, to one of the main persons of one of the 11 gurus. So what happened? He was not treated properly, he was thrown out. These mistakes have happened, right? And they have begged forgiveness for this mistake. But the problem with whatever happened, as he mentions, I'll give an example. I remember one time, one of the 11 gurus, his god brother went and offered obeisances to him. I saw it personally with my own eyes. Even Prabhupada never did like that in a public place. And I saw this personally. There's one of the 11 gurus, rather than coming down and offering obeisances to his own god brother, he continued to sit like an acharya and place his foot on the head of his god brother. Right? So it is but natural for many sincere people to see the control, the domination, the dictatorship, because young people, there is Rajogun. So what happened? So naturally it gave rise to great pain, great humiliation, right? Conflict in their heart, because the god brother was giving an order to other god brother rather than discussing with him. Everything what Pradyumna Prabhu said was unfortunately was disregarded. Just like the Gnostic philosophy, right? I am doing a course on primitive atheism to radical theism. And it was very interesting in the Vedas. You know what very interesting is? In the Abrahamic world, the faith is an extremely delicate thing. If you deviate little bit, you say, I believe in God but not in Jesus, you will immediately go to hell. The definition of Gnostic in the Christian world is not to believe in the words of Bible and not to believe in Jesus. Very, very, huge distinction between faithless and faithfulness. In our Shastra, faith is not based upon whether I believe this or not. Our faith is divided in three categories: Rajoguna, Sattoguna and Tamoguna. Bhagavad Gita and also in the Bhagavatam 3rd canto. Another significant point in the Vedas. Now, who is Nastic and who is Astic? Imagine, now Astic and Nastic, the general term of Astic and Nastic, which holds true also, the general term of Astic and Nastic is that one who believes in God and one who does not believe in God. That is the general term. But if you go deeper into Vedas, what does the Veda say? The Karma Mimamsakas, they do not necessarily believe in active Ishwar. The Karma Mimamsakas. And it is one of the Shad Darshan of the Vedas. It is part of the Vedas. The second, the Vaisheshikas originally also did not find the reason to believe in Ishwar because the world is functioning so systematically. He said doesn't look like that Ishwar is actively involved, therefore I don't need to believe in Ishwar. But they are deriving their knowledge from the Vedas. You know what they are called as? The Karma Mimamsakas are called as Astikas. The Vaisheshikas are called as Astikas. They are not called as Anishwaravadis. They are called as Anishwaravadis, but not necessarily Nastikas. So the Nastika and Astika, Astika and Ishwaravad in Sanatan Dharma are extremely subtle. They are not black and white. The dharmic person does not operate on the principle of black and white. It is but natural. In the Mahabharata, in the Shastras, there are verses which talk about a teacher can make mistake. Right? How to deal with that? That is also explained. But to make him Rakshasa, conclusively saying that he is a Rakshasa, he should be defamed, he should be destroyed, is an extremely non-Vedic, not even refined human behavior, and what to speak of a Vaishnava behavior. Therefore, certainly, the dictatorship, the authoritarian, and therefore, if you study the Upanishads, right, in the Upanishad and in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu also, when Prabhupada talks about Vishrambena Guru Seva, Vishrambena means what? There has to be some kind of friendliness, where a disciple is not fearful. He is not shaking. He is not speechless. He has the facility to raise questions in regards to any doubts are there. If he is not convinced, he can hold back. In regards to accepting the scriptural ideas, my doubt may be there, but because it is not within my scope, he may say, just chant Hare Krishna, just worship Krishna, and you will see, understand it. There you have to put a faith. But when, that's what I said, many things happen. The unevolved, because even Guru has a journey, as I said, just because Prabhupada appointed them as the initiating teachers, immediately not that they were elevated, they were on the path of elevation. When they were on the path of elevation as a young people, they made mistakes, and that cost many people's faith. The damage happened. But still, after happening all of that damage, at the end of the day, you cannot cancel their sincerity in serving. They came, Brahmanda Brahmite, right? They came and they served. If they persisted that I want to be called as an Acharya, I want to take the service exactly how Prabhupada took. So Prakriti and Parampara, rather than you and me, what they have done? They actually very respectfully sidelined them. Because in the presence of Prakriti and Parampara, when somebody, right, Pandavas took 14 years to establish Dharma. Right. So therefore, unless there is dedication, commitment, learning, understanding both sides of the stories, why they did what they did, why they did what they did has to be accepted, the reaction. But their conclusion of the reaction in regards to Prabhupada is being the ultimate Acharya is very wrong. Sympathize with their pain, but cannot accept their philosophy. Similarly, even though we practitioners, followers of parampara system are right, but not necessarily that mistakes have not happened. Therefore, both the parties, one feeling the pain and one being the right, one who are right cannot slander, one who is wrong cannot be revengeful. Right? Therefore, in the Vada tradition, the best part was they would sit together, as we discussed in the beginning. And what they would discuss? Let us sit and discuss. After all, we are Astikas. We are follower of the Vedas. We are follower of Bhagavad Dharma. We are follower of Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Parampara. We are followers of Sanatan principle. We want to maintain the unity of every aspect, every perspective. Right? So, if they sit together, and which kind of people should sit? Not offensive people, not uninformed people, they are willing to come to the conclusion. That is also bhakti only, because Krishna is saying in the Bhagavad Gita, what is that? Vada pravadatam aham. Amongst the Vada, I am the conclusion. Thank you. Hare Krishna. If you have any questions or comment, you can send on the chat. Yeah, bolo. I can't see. Can you read? You read it loudly. Chalega. So our Satya Gopinath will read the questions. He has 1 or 2 questions on YouTube. Bolo. Ritviks argue that it is not in Vedic tradition for women to receive Gayatri. Similarly, Srila Prabhupada wanted Ritvik, which is not conventional Vedic initiation. Again, that certain principles, it is not that Prabhupada the only one who started giving women Gayatri. In 1920, 1930, in the Ramayana also, when Hanumanji met our Sita Devi, she was also doing Sandhya Vandan. So there are different ways, you call it as Gayatri, or you may call it, women did not do Gayatri. Both argument has a detailed discussion. Again, the practice of chanting, mantras, it is not the core principle like accepting Guru and Shishya. This argument doesn't hold ground. As I said, if you are not convinced, you will have so many arguments, because in the Shastra there are many people who had a direct realization of God without any Guru. They can quote that also. So, quoting certain detailed principle and connecting that to parampara, as I gave so many examples of Shankaracharya, Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, that they will bring out something. So therefore, it doesn't matter, because this is not Vada. This is Vitanda, right? There is no precedent in regards to Guru-shishya. So bringing certain other principle, oh, Prabhupada did this, but it was there in the before. These are details. Crossing across the ocean, Saraswati Thakur did. Nobody did. But that's a detailed principle. It's not a principle itself. Yes.
Defining Diksha and Shiksha.
Defining Diksha and Shiksha, there was no such major distinction in regards to Diksha and Shiksha. Generally, the Shiksha Guru himself would become Diksha. Like if you study Upanayan Samskar, the teacher would teach you, he will only accept the studentship, and the mantra was given by the father, and then he would teach them. It was natural for that person to take mantra from his guru. And another one, like if there was some Diksha Guru, he would give them initiation, but he would also allow his student to learn from other teachers, like in a school. You have a class teacher, and you also have a maths teacher, then you have Hindi teacher, then you have science teacher. You respect all of them, but specific attention was taken care by Diksha. Or as I said, in this cases, some places there is a dynamic. A Diksha Guru may not have much time to give time to his disciple, then the Shiksha Guru gives. So that was interchangeable. Shiksha means where you learn Shastra systematically under somebody, and Diksha means giving an official initiation. It was interchangeable. Don't surrender your intelligence, surrender with your intelligence. That is this Krishna, after speaking the entire Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, he is giving him the opportunity, yatechasi tata kuru. Therefore, as I said, as a Krishna Jagat Guru, he did not become a dictator, right? And therefore, the whole process of Guru-shishya relationship is not of dictating. If the disciple has an issue in regards to questions, it is the responsibility of the teacher to convey, convince him through Shastra, but not with force. Yeah. Is there any example in Gaudiya Parampara where a previous Acharya required to receive a no objection from a committee before initiating disciple? Again, these are details, as long as the Parampara system is going on, where how you do it as an organization, as a matha, like in the entire, the principle of matha in the Shankar Sampradaya, in Madhva Sampradaya, in Ramanuja, in Gaudiya Math, there is a successor Acharya, as Pradyumna Prabhu mentioned. And he also mentioned in his letter, like Prabhupada said, both spiritual matter and the matters of management has to be managed by GBC. So if they have used that, it may not be the best of the policy in regards to, receiving an non-objection letter, right? It may not be the best of the policies, but it is still falls into the category of not cancelling the entire parampara system. I may not agree personally, but at the same time, that is the best thing they have got. They may work on finding something better options. Yeah. Yeah. Next. Any other question? Say that we must approach Guru for mundane and spiritual. Both I agree. For spirituality, we are organization where fortunately we are connected. But as me and my brothers are very fond of exercise and asanas due to many reasons, we cannot meet them personally, but learn through their videos. Prabhu, is it wrong? If it is, how can we do things like exercise or other things? Is we are doing wrong? So again, Even for doing exercise, there are hundreds of stories when people saw videos and perform and they had made a wrong asanas where nobody was there to correct. So any knowledge we have seen, we do, I'm also connected to education. In some of our schools we do not use teacher teaching online unless there is a connection with the student to see what are they doing, what are they feeling, because when you are personally connected there is a three-dimensional observation. But in physical reality, if there is a theory, we can have online, but it is a practicality. At least once in a while, you can do seeing video 10 times, but at least once in a while you have to meet to see whether you are doing right or wrong. Very simple. No? It appears that the disparity between the two groups has intensified following its recent court case. Even if the leaders intend to reconcile and establish a consensus, the followers may not accept this resolution, potentially leading to further division and the emergence of additional groups. What are your thoughts on this matter? So the question is, yes, you are right, because the social media, right? In the social media, I remember when we were dealing with Ritvik, it was like rarely somebody, it would take few days to receive through emails. But now, as I said, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, even somebody who was only 6 months old, 10 months old, 12 months old, 2 years old, they have the audacity from either side. Oh, Bangalore wale sab rascal hai, cheat hai. How do you say that? That is wrong. And from their people, I saw young girls, nicely dressed, looking like Lakshmis, but acting like, anything, speaking, "Arey, how do you do that?" I remember visiting one place with one of our sannyasi teacher, a courtesy visit to another, not from ISKCON, and I was shocked to see the outburst of those people. He asked some question, which was not very friendly question. In a sportive way, but it was not friendly in front of the people. And his followers did not see that the person who has come to visit is their Atithi. He is much senior to them, almost 40-year, 45-year young, elder to them, practicing devotional life for many decades. So it was like the parliament. I was shocked. And as we were coming out, one new Bhaktin, who is not even 2 years old, she is telling this sannyasi, "Oh Maharaj, you are very fortunate to meet our Guru. Your life is perfected." Right? So I learned, I could have fought with them. It was in our own place only. I could have called few devotees to create a ruckus. But sabhyata is that when you debate with someone, you need to know what is their level. And you are right, unfortunately, the social media can create limitless argumentation, limitless opinions, limitless ideas. Therefore, as I began, as much as possible, those who are understanding the concept of sabhyata should try to help them reconcile, not come on the forefront. Let their argument happen from one side, because as somebody is speaking, if they don't receive any response, the whole thing is again to get more and more hits, right? Using this platform also to being the forefront, while cancelling, there is Prabhupada is the only Guru, but I need to be social media influencer. So there is all possibility, we can't deny. So it has to be done systematically. Ritviks adhere to their system without causing offense to other devotees. Do they also attain Godhead? See the concept of Godhead, na? Who attains Godhead? Who am I to tell? It is completely between that Jiva and Krishna, right? And philosophically, when you transgress certain core principle of the Vedas. We can say philosophically that is not correct. But if they chant Hare Krishna, what happens? That is between them and Krishna. Right? I can't say they will not go back to Godhead. I can't say they will go back to Godhead. Because the whole concept of achieving perfection is extremely secretive. It is in the hands of the Supreme Lord. How he handles what he does, it's between that Jiva and the Supreme Lord. So therefore, again that is a detailed concept. When will I go, here we are not able to behave in a civil sense, right? If we can behave in a civil sense, even on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, like Prabhupada mentioned, after the war was over, both the parties would come together. Even in the border, right? If you talk to the soldiers, they are not all the time sitting there and giving galis to the Pakis, right? Those who are sitting eating nicely, their spirit is unevolved, and therefore they say, khatam kar do unko, nasht kar do. But a soldier understand. On the other side also, even though ideologically, even though their politicians, even though their unevolved citizens are crazy, but what do? We still treat them as human beings. But when the time comes to battle, they fight them also, right? Hare Krishna. Earlier time, most Diksha Gurus were Grahastha, then the Guru would usually be closely connected to the disciples. Considering that, what are your thoughts on the current number of Diksha Guru in community? Do you feel we should move towards that more traditional model, or what is your perspective on this? Again, as I said, it is easier for people to give different opinions. But the whole process, yes, there are flaws, there are mistakes, there are limitations, there are challenges, how to operate. I was talking to somebody, one of the great teachers of respect. He was very appreciative of ISKCON's efforts, Srila Prabhupada. His Guru had told him when he became a Guru. He said, never stop teaching your students and never stop learning. For 80, he left his body when he was 88-year-old, when he took sannyas when he was 10-year-old, very traditional sannyasi. For 55 years, other than Amavasya, Purnima and Pratipada, he always taught his student and always studied the Shastra. And for 2 years, the students, right, at least 30-40 students, every batch would get to interact with him. Not just to serve him physically, but to learn from their Guru one specific subject. So they would get his association, they would get to learn Shastra, and they would get to see his behavior. And I meet some of them, they have two things: amazing affection and amazing learning also. And another principle is that they do not feel special, exclusive, and I get to associate with my Guru and others are not. And then you start feeling that actually it is my special karma. I bumped into my Guru. He is fortunate to have me because I am special. So the traditional system was Upanayana, Upanishad, be there close. Yes, if they have, again, you can't just increase the number of gurus because the disciple have to be close to the teacher. We have seen when somebody becomes a leader without maturity, especially dealing with people's life, a counselor, a teacher, and especially giving the tag of a guru. So therefore the training, the most important training is that I am not all knowing. I am as insignificant like our what is his name, one who wrote the book on Brihad Bhagavatamrit, Gopi Paranadhan Prabhu. He mentioned very nice point. He said, the Guru may be 2 steps ahead of you. We know but he still has the power to guide. And in those guidance where they are illogical, they don't make sense, like if your guru tells you, "Arey, you invest money here, I am telling you, Krishna revealed to me," you should know that is not his forte. I remember our Srinathji Prabhu, somebody came to him, from some other town. He asked a loan for building a temple. He said, "Krishna has inspired me, please give me some loan." So he told that devotee, he said, "You know what, you don't know how to make money, you can't give loan back because that is not your forte. Your forte is collecting charity and using it rightly. I can give you donations, 1/10 of what loan you are asking, but I cannot give you loan." So that is a smartness where you are not offending him, at the same time you are not blinded for something which is you will not regret later. Hare Krishna. Do you think the Guru-shishya parampara is going to face challenge from recent AI revolution, because our Guru-shishya parampara existed when Guru was only source of information, but is going to be replaced now by some AI model, as anyways no Guru is going to stay with Shishya all throughout life and answer it. See, nowhere in the Shastra, how long Shandipani Muni stayed with Krishna? No, Guru is not your mentor in regards to like a security guard, all the time is walking with you. The purpose of Guru is to teach you up until certain year properly. And then once in a while, when you have learned, like in the mundane subject, you learn mathematics for 10-12 years, some teacher teach for long years, like the traditional Gurukul, the same teacher would teach the subject, so you develop such a great relationship with him. So therefore, no AI can ever replace the living Guru Parampara. That is not possible. You will have an information of the Shastras, but you will not develop an wisdom. So therefore, Parampara, because Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita explains, the human being will always be there who are evolved. And therefore he says, I am the ability in man in the 7th chapter. Shabdake Paurusham Nrusu. Therefore, in the creation of God, the human evolution will always be superior to AI. AI may give you great information, but it cannot. And that is the beauty of Sanatan Dharma. Last question we'll take. Just like 2 questions. May I kindly ask your opinion, what steps our community should consider taking next regarding the Ritvik issue? Do not make any videos offending them. Let them make, and they will shut up their mouth eventually, because it is not ultimately unsustainable philosophy. Focus on educating yourself with the right teacher, learning Shastras properly. When you grow nicely, nothing can stop. They claim, the current gurus can officially claim that they can deliver the devotees and take the responsibility to him to back to Godhead or not. Why that responsibility is still with Prabhupada? Prabhuji, they are also claiming the recordings and audio files were burned for the duration where Prabhupada had discussed about Ritvik. Again, all these conspiracy theories, are useless, because the entire Sanatan Parampara, those paramparas who have not followed Guru Parampara tradition within India and outside India, if you go and interact, you will realize how frozen their ideas are. If Prabhupada's books does not need explanations, then why would you think Vyasadev's books need interpretations and purport? He is God himself. One can say, why anybody is writing a purport and explanation? Languages change. Right? The Gen Z's, their language, their communication, their conversation is it is not understandable. There is no guarantee that English language will stay. right? Therefore, you need commentaries, you need explanation. The parampara continues like that, right? And another interesting principle, Guru does not take disciple to Godhead. It is Krishna. Only Mukunda is the deliverer. The spirit of Guru, I will take you, is that spirit that I will be there with you. But ultimately, it is the prerogative of the Supreme Bhagavan to decide whether you will go back to God or not. The Guru will plead on behalf of a disciple. And Krishna may choose, no, he has to stay one more lifetime. Like Muchkunda, it happened. So therefore, what do we learn? What does Gita say? Tadvidi pranipatena pariprashnana sevaya upadeshantide jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshina. What does he do? He gives the knowledge. He gives us the opportunity to seva. And when that opportunity is given, what happens next? That all the bewilderment in regards to the journey to the spiritual perfection will be over. So therefore, again, one has to understand the spirit behind that statement and the technical reality of the Shastra. Therefore, one very, very dear disciple of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, very dear, God brother of Prabhupada, he explained very nicely that Guru is meant for his disciple, as Pradyumna Prabhu wrote. But Guru always continues to remain eternally disciple of his Guru. The position of disciple is eternal, but the position of Guru is relative to his disciples. Please understand this. Therefore, even that Guru, who gives knowledge, who trains his students, he makes them highly advanced, he is a touchstone, but in the core of his heart, what is beating in his heart? His heart is beating to be servant of his Guru and begging Krishna for his mercy. Therefore, ours is not Abrahamic tradition. Ours is a flow of knowledge, service to Guru, service to Krishna, and the liberation is given, offered in his terms and condition. And we will stop here for your involvement and asking question and listening to this sensitive topic. Hare Krishna.